My friends, there is a lot of suffering in this world. And where there is a lot of suffering, there will be people with bad intentions, demagogues, neo-Nazis, who will try to take advantage of the suffering of other people for their own personal gains, and in doing so, create even more suffering. In the long term, the only skillful defense against demagogues is a massive reduction in the suffering in the world. Because you see, demagogues need people suffering to rise up to power. Therefore, if we massively reduce suffering in the world, then we take the fuel away from the budding Hitlers, the budding Pol Pots of the world. Also the neo-Nazis, also the KKK, also the type of leaders who are endorsed by the KKK. I'm not saying anybody in particular, okay? This talk is going to be great. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. No, seriously. I'm not talking about any one person in particular. I'm talking about a widespread phenomenon that happens all over the world and for thousands of years. So as part of reducing suffering in the world, we have to address the issue of power. And as long as power remains the monopoly pursuit of people with bad intentions, there will always be a lot of suffering in the world. Therefore, part of our work to greatly reduce suffering in the world has to be creating a world where people in power are very good people. And if that's true, the corollary must be true also, which is that very good people are willing to hold power. The question is how? How do we do this? And in addressing the issue of how, there's one key enabling mechanism, which is that goodness is trainable. And the reason goodness is trainable is this. It is that goodness is not something that needs to be constructed. Goodness is already there in everybody's mind. It is the base condition of all of us. All we have to do is to deconstruct the obstructions to goodness. So we're already good, but there are things that obstruct goodness. We just have to deconstruct them. And when I use the word deconstruct, I mean the both meanings of the word. So one meaning of the word deconstruct means to take it apart to understand it. The other meaning is to take it apart to dismantle it. And in this case, they're both true. So we only have to remove the conditions that obstruct goodness. And the conditions are greed, hatred, ignorance. And the good news is that there are training to address these things, greed, hatred, ignorance. The training to address greed is peace and joy. The training to address hatred is altruistic love. And the training to address ignorance is insight and selflessness. The very important point is that you don't have to be perfect at this training. You don't have to totally remove greed, hatred, ignorance. You can just remove them by some significant percentage, and already you can solve the problem. Already you can create very good people. So that leads us to the next question. What does it look like to be very good at these three types of training? So the first is peace and joy. Training of peace and joy begins with something called shamatha. Right? Shamatha, which translates to calm abiding, abiding in calmness. And when you train in calm abiding, first thing is your mind calms down. And not just calm down, it becomes more concentrated. So it's not the kind of spacing out, right? It is alert and relaxed, it's calm and concentrated. And in doing so, something else happens, which is mind-blowing, which is that if you do that, joy, inner joy arises spontaneously after some training. And when that happens, that joy is independent of sense and ego pleasures. So you don't have to go and grab sensory pleasure and grab ego pleasure to be joyful anymore. It's something that's already in there, right? And you do it as a skill. Skill means trainable. The more you train, the more you practice, the better you become at it. And when you become very, very good at this, what happens? you get into something called jhana, and which is a mastery of shamatha. And when in a state of jhana, your concentration becomes perfected, the mind becomes quiet, your equanimity becomes perfected, and you experience an inner joy independent of sensation that is better than sex, according to the masters. Fascinating, right? So you're looking at the study of different parameters. The one about better than sex is fascinating to me. So the part that's fascinating is how do you measure it? And it turns out there's an ingenious way of measuring that in this experiment, which was they measured the activation of the dopamine release system, right? And so the prediction, I mean, if I give you a description like this state of mind is better than sex, your prediction, or my prediction, was that then the dopamine system must be in hyperdrive. And if that's the case, that's a problem, because there might be a danger of addiction. There might be a danger of habituation. Habituation means that after that, you need more to get the same hit. Right? So according to the study, something fascinating happens, which is that when you're in the state of the jhana, the dopamine release system is only slightly activated. However, the cortical activity is very low. And because of that little bit of dopamine release appears to be huge. And therefore, you don't have the problem of habituation and addiction. And therefore, something else the masters have been teaching us about, that joy comes from inner peace. It turns out there is data to support that study, that statement. That's fascinating. So that's one. The next thing is altruistic love. Loving kindness, compassion, and altruistic joy. So when you become very good at this, what happens? The first thing that happens is you learn to be able to generate large amounts of selfless love on demand. So yeah, what does that mean? Substantially. So this guy you see here, his name is Matthew Ricard. He's French. He has spent, by the time he was in the fMRI machine, he has spent 40,000 hours in the meditation training. So Matthew, when he's meditating on compassion, you see that his brain activity spiked. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I asked a neuroscientist, Richie Davidson, for those who know him, I asked him to explain to me in words that even I can understand. And Richie said it's very simple. Imagine looking and seeing an elephant charging at you, right? That amount of fear. Imagine the positive aspect of that experience. Imagine being able to bring up the experience voluntarily in 2 seconds. Matthew can do that. Matthew has the ability to bring about intense amount of altruistic love for anybody at any time. That's the power. When that happens, it becomes an infinite source of doing good. So again, this is from Matthew. By the way, this book, this is the best book on altruism. For those interested in the topic, it's only 900 pages long. So there's such a thing called compassion fatigue. And according to Matthew, there is no such thing. He says that what we call compassion fatigue is actually empathy fatigue, right? When we deal with people who are suffering, and then we suffer with them, and then we burn out. And Matthew says that is different. That is empathy, different from compassion. If you have compassion, if you arise compassion, then it's an infinite resource. You never get fatigued. And again, that's been tested in the lab. So Matthew was in the fMRI machine, and when he meditated only on empathy, you see the pain centers of his brain light up. He was literally in pain, looking at suffering. But when he was meditating on compassion, the pain centers of the brain stopped lighting up, and the maternal love part of the brain lit up. So compassion becomes it's a happy state. It's an infinite resource. It's fascinating. And beyond that, also you create the courage of compassion. So what does that mean? I want to tell you the story of this guy. His name is Dr. Ari, and he's a force of nature. Right? He's about this tall. So he's the biggest non-profit leader in Sri Lanka. So one time, he was starting something. He was starting a peaceful movement, And then he found out that somebody was trying to assassinate him. And the way the guy was going to assassinate him was they were going to put a bomb in the school where he was teaching. So they were going to bomb the school. So Dr. Ari found out, and what did he do? He went to the guy's house, knocked on his door, went inside his house, and then said, the guy you're trying to bomb, that's me. It's like, don't bomb the school, right? The school, the kids there. And kill me now. I'm here, kill me now. and the guy was bombing him. He was actually a crime boss. And he started crying. He was like, if I had teachers like you, I would never be a crime boss. And that guy has courage, right? This guy has more cojones in one fingertip. Wow, I only have 5 minutes left. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm going to skip the science. Sorry. Selflessness. Oh my gosh, time flies. So selflessness begins with a training called Vipassana, which is training of insight. And the training of insight sharpens interoception, which means how you seeing the processes of self, of emotion, cognition, and self. And through doing that, something else happens, which is selflessness, which is the ability to see self as a process and not as an object. And by doing that, there are 2 flavors of it. The first flavor is that you see that there's only the observer, and the observer has no identity. And second flavor is there's only the observation. There's no observer. And in doing all that, breaking it through into no self, suffering is greatly reduced. And so there's some science behind it, and I have no time to get into it, but basically, the rate parts of, there's some science behind it. So I have 3 minutes left. Oh my gosh. I'm polytheist, that's why I say, oh my gods, So this is it. The 3 powers of a Jedi-level master meditator are peace and joy, altruistic love, insight, and leading to reduction or elimination of greed, hatred, ignorance, leading to goodness. So what's the problem? There are not enough of us, not them, not us, not me, them, in the world. And there's the rotting cat carcass problem. So what is the rotting cat carcass problem? So once upon a time, there was a phoenix, very pure phoenix. And the phoenix drinks only the purest of spring water, and it only eats the youngest of bamboo shoots. Very pure. One day, the phoenix was flying, and on the ground, there is a rotting rat carcass. And the crow saw the carcass. And the crow said, mine, mine, mine. Like the crow stood on the carcass. And then the crow looked up and saw a phoenix. And the crow said, get away from my carcass. So the carcass represents power. And for people who are highly developed, people who have developed those 3 powers, inner joy, peace and joy, love, and so on, power is like a rat carcass. It's disgusting. They don't want to get near it, which is a problem, right? Then only the crows are getting it. Therefore, power is only in the domain of not so good people. So that problem has to be solved. So the way to solve it is to create a culture where service is part of the spiritual training. And the reason is because of compassion, right? As part of the training, you have to serve. And part of service is picking up rat carcasses, picking up power. Sorry, I'm running out of time, so here's an example of somebody who did that. Huinan, the Zen patriarch, spent 15 years in the hunter community after his enlightenment. Vegetarian, fully enlightened, and he spent 15 years with hunters, like literally picking up carcasses. So there is precedence. I'm going to skip this. I had a joke to tell, unfortunately. So this is it. This is a solution. And so first, there's a groundwork, right? The groundwork is to make mindfulness and compassion mainstream with a curriculum such as Search Inside Yourself. Basically, curriculum that helps people succeed with goodness being a necessary side effect. But beyond that, we have to go deeper. And the way to go deeper is we need to create a curriculum, a secular, systematic curriculum that brings a trainee to Jedi level expertise in about 3 years, with service being part of the training. Scale it massively, 1 million graduates in 50 years, that's my goal. And then help graduates change the world, from companies, nonprofits, and so on. So who's doing this? I know one person who's doing this. This guy is the most ambitious monk I know. He's a Buddhist monk. He wants to spread love, power, and wisdom to the whole world. Right? And that's why he became a monk. And you know how ambitious he is? Because of the last name he gave himself. After his ordination, he gave himself the last name of for all. Not for some. Not for 53%. Not for all except the boy from first grade. But for all. And so for those of you who think that I'm making fun of him behind his back, I assure you I'm not, because he's right here. So let's stand up. Yeah, making fun of him in front of his face. That's what friends are for. Yeah, friends like this, who needs enemies, right? So Shoyi has started something called Monastic Academy. He raised about $1.5 million to renovate this facility. What impressed me is this, that he created something, a curriculum that can allow trainees to get the 3 powers in about 3 years. And they alternate between retreat and service. And there's something I'm jokingly calling this, the Nirvana thing. So imagine this. Imagine Shoyu's monastery, right, in the same compound as a workspace, which is what he does. Right? So there's like the Nirvana side where people are training full-time to get enlightened, to get the 3 powers. And then there's a Nerdvana side where people are working. And the only difference between them is one door. So there's a free flow of people. So they influence each other. Right? So the monks teach the Nerdvana side people to be calm, to be mindful, to be kind, to be loving. And this side, they teach them to do business, to run the business, to grow a business, and so on. So there's constant circulation, and we hope that in the future, there's more circulation. So graduates from the Nirvana side will eventually go to the other side to start companies. And those from the other side who gradually make $1 billion will come back to do 3 years of training. Oh, I'm out of time. So Shoryu he's doing this in Vermont right now, and he's trying to double every year. So this is how we're going to do. The way to train 1 million Jedi is double every 3 years. And you're going to see the math here. So the math is, if you double every 3 years, you get 1 million in 50 years. So anyway, that's the math. And so he's looking for $10 million investment to do this in California. I pledge $1 million if he can raise the other 9. So help him get my money away. Okay. 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to speak quickly for 2 minutes. So in summary, so the practices diminishes suffering, the causes of suffering, and creates very good people. You have very good people, you multiply that by 1 million, you help them change the world. And then with a lot of very good people in power, then you can really reduce suffering in the world. That's the plan. Okay. So last thing, train. Yeah, this is what you can do. And these are the people you can talk to after this talk. And my friends, may the force of goodness be with you, and may the force of goodness be you. Thank you. Thank you.